Let's make my famous cheat code lasagna. This is a recipe that I make when I don't want spaghetti, but I want something filling and I'm craving pasta. Very simple recipe to follow along. You're just going to start with two bell peppers. I prefer red and green. And I'm just going to chop them about medium to small pieces. And I'm also going to do a half of a medium-sized onion as well. And this shouldn't take you too long to prep. You're not seeing me use a lot of bell peppers here because those bell peppers are on the larger side and I will be using them for another recipe. So you just want to go ahead and get about a cup of each pre-chopped and set aside. Next step is to go ahead and heat up a pan and add a little olive oil to the pan. If you're using some type of ground beef or pork, you do not need to use olive oil for this step. I'm using Italian turkey sausage. So turkey can be a bit dry, so that's why I'm using a little olive oil to brown it. But you're just going to chop it up very well. Make sure that it's cooked thoroughly. And I'm just adding a little bit of paprika and garlic powder to it, just so that it does have layers of flavor. These are just the powders, so there's no salt added for this. You can choose to use additional seasonings or not. And you just want to go ahead and drain the meat. At this point, we are going to use some more olive oil and add those pre-chopped veggies. And you want to go until the onions are a little bit translucent and the peppers are a little bit soft. And I'm just going to add an all-purpose seasoning. This does have salt in it. And this is just to go ahead and help the veggies get to where I want them to be. And I'm going to also add in some minced garlic and tomato paste at this point. And you just want to stir it well. Keep it on like a low eye. And once that's combined well, you can go ahead and add your meat back to your pan. Once you have your meat added back and blended up really good, you can turn the eye off and go ahead and pre-shred up you some cheese. I use whole milk mozzarella for this. This is actually the Tillamook brand. No, this is not sponsored, but that's one of my favorite cheese brands. And I'm using my hand rotary grater because ain't nobody got time to be cutting their fingers and stuff. So you're just going to do about 8 ounces of that and do your ricotta cheese. Add as much or as little as you like. I do about a half a cup and I do mix mine in my mixture. That's why I call this the cheat code lasagna, because a lot of steps that you would do with traditional lasagna, we're just going to go ahead and mix it in. And this is a full jar of marinara and a half a jar of a garlic herb sauce, and we're going to combine this well. Now some people like to add a little sugar to their tomato sauce mixture. I don't. That's why I get the marinara, because the marinara already has a sweetness to it. So I use 1 full jar of that and then half a jar, whatever sauce I prefer. Black pepper it to your liking. And at this point, we are ready to layer. You want to use oven ready lasagna. That's why it's the cheat code. Put a little at the bottom of the baking dish. Go ahead and add your oven ready lasagna. And I go in with the meat sauce on top. That way, each layer of the oven ready lasagna is coated, because the steam from it cooking and the liquid from the sauce is what's going to help the noodle cook. So you just want to make sure it's covered on each layer completely. Add in a layer of your freshly shredded mozzarella. and repeat. And I'm using a ladle for this because it just helps me transfer from the pan to the dish. When I'm cooking, I try to make as little extra dishes as possible. So using a ladle will help you transfer it from like a deep dish skillet to the baking dish. Pro tip. And you're just gonna go ahead and add some mozzarella cheese on top of that layer as well. And for the top layer, I'd use the other half of that remaining sauce and some shredded Parmesan. What this does is it helps give it a nice crust on the top layer. And you're gonna combine that with a little Italian seasoning. I layer that on top, and then I take the remaining mozzarella and I go ahead and sprinkle that on top. And it's optional, but I like to season every layer, as you can see. So I'm adding some Italian seasoning and black pepper as well to the top. These are just my staples when I make the lasagna. And we are going to cover it with foil. Bake it on 375. And this will cook for about 35 to 40 minutes. And you want to go ahead and uncover it, and it should be bubbling just like you see mine. And that way you know the noodles are done or have had time to cook. You're gonna put it back in for about 10 minutes. Let it rest about 15 minutes before serving, and it should be cooked through. Let me know if you try this recipe and leave a comment below.